Hello, world. It's me, Dennis. In this turvy-topsy world we live in, where Donald J. Trump has been elected twice, yes, twice, to be President of the United States, we who resist and persist are finding a myriad of ways to cope. Here is how today's guest, David Finkle, is doing so.
Let's hear a cheer for Cory Booker for making Trump, that crook, look crooker. I'm glad you're
Oh,
laughing.
David, welcome to the show. It's wonderful to be able to see how you have. This is your latest book, which is Humpty Trumpty 2.0. You did during the first Trump administration. You wrote your first book, which was Humpty Trumpty Hit a Brick Wall. And these were also, it was in verse also, correct?
That's certainly correct.
And now you've come back for the second time, and all of us who are gobsmacked that we could actually, as a country, do this again. Tell me about the first 100 days and how you wrote and coped with this.
This is, as you've suggested, is a sequel to the previous book, which was called Humpty Trumpty Hit a Brick Wall. And on Inauguration Day, so 2017, January 20th,
Yes.
I thought, this is a very depressing day. What am I going to do? I've got to do something. And I thought, when you want to do something, you try to do the best thing you can do. And I've been a lyricist for years and years and years, and have had a very nice career, in large part doing corporate entertainment. But that day I wasn't doing corporate entertainment. I was doing entertainment for myself. And I thought, if I'm going to do a lyric, maybe the thing to do is to take the old nursery rhyme and do a parody of it. Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall.
Yes.
So I did that. And after I did the first one, I thought, wouldn't that be interesting to do it one a day for the first year of his administration? And I thought, well, can I actually do that? 365 of them. But I thought, well, I'll start and see what I can do. I did 300, not only 364. On the anniversary of his inauguration, I did the 366th, and then brought the book out. So this time around, I thought, oh, I'm not going to do this again. But I was depressed that first day. And so I thought, well, I got to write one. And then I thought, the second day came, and I thought, well, I got to write another one. And then I thought, okay, I'll do the first 100 days, and then I'll stop. And so I started doing them. And I was doing one every day. And I ought to point out that there were verses, but they're all kind of doggerel. They're very simple. And as the one I just mentioned was.
Right.
That was
They're
one.
both topical, and they're simple, and they go right to the point, which is what I love about humor and the work that you do, is that they're just so barbed and precise.
Well, I have to say, I have to thank Trump in a perverse way for giving. There was so much material to do it. There were days when I thought I could do one on any one of these things that he's abused us with.
Right.
And so I ran into a friend who asked what I was up to, and I said, "Oh, I'm doing this book on Trump," and there's so much material. And he said, well, I hope you run out of material.
Oh, isn't that the truth,
And
David?
I never did.
Continue.
I just never. There was always something. When I came down to the last few days of the first 100 days, there was still several things I could write about, and I could only choose, I think it was 4. I had 4 left. And so I had to leave things out.
Yeah.
Since, however, initially I might say, and I will say that I would put them on, after I wrote them each day, I would
Mhm.
put them on Facebook. And so I did my 100 days on Facebook, and then I put the book together. But since then, I've done the occasional one because I can't not something hits me so strongly,
Yes.
punches me in the gut, and I just have to do something to relieve my stress.
Right. So this is therapy. This is your way of processing this most extraordinary time. I'm stunned, David, as to when I look out at what is happening, and I try to look at it and to go like Wanda Sykes so aptly put during the first term. This shit's not normal. This is way past. I don't. It comes with such a with so quickly, and it's so strong that it's very difficult for me to even to wrap my mind around it before something else is on.
Well, Rhonda Sykes, who is eternally funny, hilarious,
Isn't she astonishing? Yeah.
had it right. Uh, I steered clear of what are normally thought of obscenities,
Yes.
and I don't think I used any in the 100 that I published, or in the ones I've done since. Um, my feeling is there's enough obscenity around that I don't have to relay it. I don't have to.
When you are writing about things that fall within the definition of what obscenity is. Why do we need to gild the lily? I love that because as a writer, and you as a theater critic and all, because I very often I will, says he tangentially, will be bothered by the overuse of a particular epithet in a language. I go, wait a minute, I'm getting distracted from the message because I'm not getting a chance to enjoy the words.
Well, part of it bothers me because they seem to be the only words that people resort to. And we've got such a great language. There are
Rich.
400,000 words. Use the language. So that's what and as a lyricist, that's what I like to do. And I also love to rhyme. I love to I love to find new rhymes. I do have a favorite rhyme in the in the book, which is,
Please, I was hoping let's have another one. Would you please, David?
well, I'll read one, but it does not include that rhyme. But
All right.
I'll get to the rhyme after it. But this is most of the rhymes. I think I may have already said are four lines, two rhyme couplets, maybe A B rhyme scheme.
Yeah.
6, 8. This is the longest, and it was written. It was published on March 1st, and dated March 1st because it's the day after Donald J. Trump and J.D. Vance humiliated Volodymyr Zelensky in the Oval Office,
Yeah.
which I thought was one of the most disgraceful. Well, I'll read the poem. You'll get the point. Ever seen a schoolyard bully? Trump's a great example. VP Vance supports him fully. His slurs are more ample. The Zelensky trounce, no, mugging. Was at best disgusting. They both went for ceaseless slugging, never aimed at trusting. Their behavior's now historic. Their attacks embedded. Round the globe went meteoric, for the future headed. As of now, alliance ended. Ukraine is forsaken. Trump's cruel actions won't be mended. All allies are shaken. Some might say Trump hit a new low and cannot go lower. That just misconstrues his woe point. Trump's a true mind blower. And that's what I had to say on that event. And I consider, and I think this may sound pretentious, but I think that what I realized when I reread the 100, all of them, each one more or less written the day after a certain event, I concluded that I'd really put together a history in verse of the first 100 days of the second Trump administration, which was really horrifying. And what he set out to do and did, and to ruin our democracy.
And to do it twice. There was once where we had this once it could be an aberration. Twice says more about us than it says about him.
Well, the other side of that is that the first administration, he had people around him who were what we would refer to as guardrails.
Institutionalists.
He has no guardrails this time around. He has people who only agree with everything he wants them to agree with, who've been chosen for that position, that's the job they're meant to fulfill.
Exactly.
So
when you sit down and when we see something like a cabinet meeting where we go from one person to another, heaping, who is each person topping the next person to heap praise upon, or to have him wear, this is the thing that scares me so much, David, is that when someone has no ability to admit they have ever made a mistake and will even actually wear a hat proclaiming that he was right about everything in the third person, that is a truly scary psychological thing to happen.
I might suggest to your listeners and viewers that there is a psychological term called antisocial personal disorder.
Antisocial personal
disorder. If you look the term up, you will find a definition of the term. It reads exactly, line for line, like a description of Donald J. Trump. I would say he's a textbook example of someone in that category. And also, I should say that his what's the word I want? His inflexibility about never admitting he's wrong.
Exactly.
Was taught him, inculcated in him by Roy Cohn, his mentor. He was mentored by the very famous and questionable lawyer Roy Cohn.
Exactly, coming right out on the heels of working with McCarthy and coming right out of that playbook.
That's right. And what he taught was several things. You never admit you're wrong. You never say you're sorry. You're always on the offensive. You are never on the defensive. And another thing he taught, which is the one thing that Trump has never learned, Roy Cohn would say, you're loyal to your friends and your friends are loyal to you. Trump learned the part about friends being loyal to you. He has never learned the part of being loyal to friends. He does not know how to be loyal to anyone else but himself.
True.
So the minute you turn on him, disagree with him in any way, he doesn't say, well, maybe you're right, maybe I'll have to look at that. He just says, that's enough about you. That's enough for you. Goodbye. And
Exactly. He's the Queen of Hearts.
yes, he's the queen of breaking hearts.
Yeah.
Not,
I
not
love the way I love watching you think and watching your mind work in the literature in that. I mean, I almost see it whirling around, and to do that. Your writing. Were you a fan of the great lyricists that were on Broadway, the Porters and the I forget the name of the great lyricists of the combinations that they have, but was that a lot of your
Cole Porter wrote his own lyrics, of
right?
course, as did Jerry Herman and Stephen Sondheim.
Right. Did you know any of these people when you were much younger?
I can't say I knew Stephen
Because you're in
Sondheim.
New York and you're a theater critic and you have certainly been in all of these
I knew
salons
Stephen
and all.
Sondheim. He knew me. He actually came to see me when I was performing with my partners Bill Wheaton and Sally Faye when we did a cabaret act, and I when I was at school for the school newspaper, I interviewed Richard Rodgers twice when he came through New Haven with first The Sound of Music, and 2 years later, after Oscar Hammerstein had died, with now I'm going to forget the name of the musical, but people watching can Google it.
There you go. You got to have an active audience. None of this passive stuff. Get involved. People.
So I knew him. I met. I once sat with Jerry Herman and his publisher, and who had raved to him about the songs Bill Wheaton and Sally Faye and I wrote, and he said he'd listened to them and liked them a lot. So I can say I've met Jerry Herman to sit with for a couple of hours once. So yes, I've known a few of them. I wish I had known others. Well, I did know Yip Harburger. I was once involved in a book about Yip Harburg,
Yes.
and so I spent a lot of time with him, the Yipper, and he was, of course, he was a wonderful rhymer, and he would have such fun with. He was the one maybe who taught me the most about having fun with off rhymes and making fun in rhymes. And
wonderful! One of my big heroes when I was growing up. I'm 77 this year. When I was a kid, there was things were 33 and a third. We had those records, and there was one that was called Tom Lehrer. Tom Lehrer put out these wonderful songs. A college professor and he recently died. And when I was reading yours, I thought that you're coming out of the same school.
Tom Lehrer, I'm happy to tell you, once got me and Bill Wheaton a job, because there was a musical trying out in Baltimore called I'm Solomon. And I think it was called then In Someone Else's Sandals, but they changed the title to I'm Solomon. And it was written by a team that were not coming up with comedy songs that satisfied the production people and the other creators. And so they called Tom Lehrer and asked him if he could come down to Baltimore and write some songs to put in the show.
Sure.
He said, I can't do that, but I've heard a couple of songwriters in New York City. He was in Cambridge, of course, at Harvard, in New York City, who write funny songs that as funny as my songs, he may have said. And so
what a compliment! Oh my goodness!
Why don't you call them and see if they would do it? And so we got this call saying Tom Lehrer had recommended us. Would we come down and write songs? Which we did. So I never met Tom Lehrer. I can't remember if we even called him up and thanked him. We have been that negligent, which I frequently am. But
Well, David, I'm so excited about this opportunity that we have during our lifetimes. It feels to me like when I from the time that I grew up in the 50s and going through the 60s and the 70s, it seems like that we are going to look back on it historically and see this was a time of such incredible evolution of the human consciousness of where we have. And I am excited and hopeful, and like any new opportunity, I think there's going to be challenges that are going to be beyond what we could possibly see, but I'm very hopeful. But this time has been so rich. I'm really grateful to have had the opportunity to be able to be in during this time.
it is rich, but it's also a very depressing time, because if we're losing our democracy, as Donald Trump is out to have us lose,
Exactly.
then we will have been at the end of what is now more frequently referred to as the American democratic experiment.
Yes. If
And
we can keep it.
if we can keep it, as who's
Ben Franklin said.
Ben Franklin's very visionary quote and
Yes.
thought. I would hate for him to, well, he won't know
Yes.
that the jeopardy we've been put in now, and probably the worst jeopardy in the 249 years of this democracy. I'm 85, and I don't know how many more years I have to live.
Do any of us? We're playing with house money, aren't we, David?
Yes, we are, and I. The one consolation of my death is that I may miss a disaster that's
Right.
coming.
I'm wired as an optimist. So I have to factor that in when I think of what is going on and what's going forward. But it to me, one of the hardest things to keep is darkness, because the tiniest shard of light is going to break into that darkness. And I believe at my core that the idea of a multiracial, multi society, of this liberal society, and I'm saying liberal with a small L, of this is the only way we can go forward. That we must have, we absolutely have to have. The world is too complex to be into a zero-sum game. It has to continue to expand and include more people rather than to exclude more people. And what I see Trump doing is constantly winnowing down, making the pie smaller and smaller, making the groups smaller and smaller. And I do not believe that is sustainable. Now, what we're going to come out on the other end of it, how we're going to figure out, I have no idea. But my feeling is that the line cannot hold. His anti-democratic, his autocratic is not the nature of where we're going to go now. And how we'll come out of it, I don't know. But I believe it's anti-human.
Well, I don't want to leave the impression that I'm pessimistic. I by nature am optimistic, and I'm optimistic, particularly these days, when the whole Epstein thing and that birthday book that's come out, and which is giving the impression, I think, to more and more and more and more people, that he's covering up something very, very big. Because
Yes.
why would if he weren't covering anything up, why wouldn't he say, yeah, let them out? Because you'll see when you let them out how I have
There's
no.
nothing there. Yeah.
So in some ways, he is foolishly incriminating himself
Yes.
by his obstinacy.
I found it the same way during the Nixon administration when they were so far ahead that there was never any need to do the kind of plumbers, the kind of Watergate burglaries, the kind of work, the skullduggery that they did. There was no need for it. They were way ahead. They didn't need to, but they continued to overreach in that. And it feels like the same things are happening here, only with a higher degree of technology and a higher degree of risk for our democracy.
I have to agree with you on that, and so I do see light at the end of the tunnel. I'm not sure how strong a light it is yet.
But we'll peer on it together. And David, thank you for coming on to
Well, it's been my
show.
pleasure.
Would you please take us off with one more? Because I think 3 is a balanced time. Pick out something for us to enjoy in this book that I want everyone to. This is on Amazon and this is also on your website, to have these wonderful piece to be able to contribute to the light.
Well, I just opened to one, so it's all random. This was written, published February 28, 2025. He's a dictator, Donald cried of Zelensky just last week. Didn't say it, he now has lied, proving outright he's a sneak and meek, a freak, a geek, unchic, leaving us folks very bleak.
Oh, thank you, David Finkle. Thank you
Thanks
for
for
coming
asking
on
me
and
to do
spending
that.
some
You know,
time with us today.
I haven't reread some of them in a while, so when I do, I decide that wasn't so bad.
No, isn't it just amazing? Thank you for coming on today, and thank you everybody for joining us. Remember, look down on the console. You'll see how to learn more about David, and you'll learn more about his books and how to get Humpty Trumpty 2.0. Thank you, David, and we'll see
Thank
you
you,
next
Dennis
time.
Tardan. See you next time. I hope there is a next time. Bye.